Hey, this is Eric Gardner, and this is my podcast. Thanks for joining me. I'm going to be recording some personal stuff here and some interviews that might be kind of interesting. So if you like it, subscribe, get notified, and listen and learn a lot. Hey everyone, it's Eric Gardner with the Hey Eric podcast, and thanks for joining me again on podcast number 5. So I just got back from Spain. If you follow any of my social accounts, you saw a bunch of pictures I posted. We flew into Barcelona, we visited Madrid and Barcelona. It was a ton of fun. Me and my family went. We found these tickets last fall that were super cheap, so we took advantage. And my wife, she loves to travel. She wants to get the kids experience with a lot of different locations, so this was a good opportunity to do that. So you just see other cultures, and luckily I speak Spanish, so that worked out too. But wow, Madrid and Barcelona were really cool. If you know European history, Barcelona is a really old town. It's got history back before Christ, being in the Mediterranean, a coastal city. That's partly the reason. But as I walked around these communities, man, it got me thinking about housing. If you've been in Salt Lake recently, you know we have a housing shortage. And you drive down 4th South in Salt Lake. That goes from I-15 up towards the University of Utah. And it's now all these big buildings. They're typically 6 to 7 stories, buildings, apartments, condominiums, whichever. And that, walking around Madrid and Barcelona, that's most of the town. They're all 4 to 7 story buildings, just full of people. And so it got me thinking, I'm like, okay, Barcelona and Madrid are super old towns. Salt Lake, it's only been around for about 150 years. So what's the future of Salt Lake, and our housing? Because in the end, people are, more people are moving to Salt Lake, and eventually we're going to get more dense. And that is what these old European cities are. They're 2,000 years old, and so they are super dense. So it got me, I dove into the math a little bit, and I wanted to share that a little bit on this podcast, because right now in Salt Lake, that's happening on 400 South. It's happening in Sugar House, where I live, at the intersection of 11th East and 21st South. Tons of, 6 to 7 story buildings are being built, and density is increasing a ton. So I dove into the numbers, and let's talk about these real quick. Okay, so Barcelona. I'm doing this with Barcelona just because I liked it, and that's the numbers I dove in at. But Barcelona, 2,000 years old. Salt Lake City, 175 years old. Barcelona, 1.6 million people, and the area of that city is only 39 square miles. So they have 1.6 million people in a 39 square mile city. Now let's take that to Salt Lake County, because I was trying to find people first. 1.18 million people are in Salt Lake County, and that's 807 square miles. So not as many people, but a whole lot more land. Salt Lake City is 110 square miles, and that includes that whole inland port area where the new prison is out by the airport. That's a ton of empty space right now. But 110 square miles for Salt Lake City, and a population of 198,000 people, which is obviously not close to Barcelona at all. Then I thought, okay, let's find a smaller town, Provo. Provo is 44 square miles, so that's a little closer and more comparable to Barcelona. I'd use it as a comparable for sure. What's the population of Provo? 116,000 people. So obviously the density is not there, but imagine, we're going to get to this. So Barcelona has 13.7 times the people as Provo in the same area. That's a lot. So if we I wanted to find more population so that matched Barcelona. So I found Salt Lake and Utah County population is about 1.8 million. So if we take all of the population of Salt Lake County and Utah County, and then if we put all of those people into just the city limits of Provo, that is what Barcelona is like. So we're taking 2 huge counties and we're putting them just in one of the cities in Utah. And that is the density. So is that what Salt Lake's going to be like in another, 2,000 years? I don't know. But that's where Barcelona's at now. And so as it also reminded me of during the pandemic, all these people moving from these city areas, Los Angeles, San Francisco, coming to Utah because it's a rural community. And when I was walking down these streets in Spain, that's exactly what I was thinking too. I'm like, yeah, Utah is rural. You're not living in an apartment building or a condo building 6 stories up. You have a yard. I have, even though it's a small yard, it's a yard. You know, no one else is living in my house except me and my family. So Utah is definitely very rural compared to obviously Barcelona, but also Los Angeles, San Francisco. And our cost of living is still very low compared to some of those big cities, coastal cities here in the United States. So no wonder people love moving to Utah. They get so many benefits. You know, like I've said in previous podcasts, you know, Utah is great because it's rural compared to them. It's got all the outdoor activities within, you know, an hour, kind of. If you want the desert stuff, it's a little bit further. But you also get a lower cost of living. You get a nice pace of life. So in the end, you know, is Utah or Salt Lake going to become more like these big metropolitan cities? Absolutely. We are already seeing it. Like I said, on 400 South, closer to downtown, we got more skyscrapers coming in. Sugar House is definitely becoming more like that. So density is increasing. Even in other cities like Holiday, they have a little bit of, you know, higher density stuff. And some people, I have a friend who used to be on the planning commission there. There's a few projects right there in the new Holiday City Center that people fought against. You know, they wanted to keep it more single family homes only. A lot of people, there's always a push against putting high density in some of these established communities. And Holiday is going to be like that. In some of these newer master plan communities, obviously, I don't think it's as big of an issue because with master planning, usually they put like a business center where all the commerce is, and then next to that they'll have like higher density stuff, and then from there it'll kind of slow down into more rural single family homes, neighborhoods like that. But they're in these master plan communities like Daybreak, they're creating a whole city center in the Daybreak Center where it's lots of high density around that city center, so it's becoming walkable. And then as you move further out to the single family residence, you might have to commute in. That's how Sugar House is now. It's very walkable. Downtown, very walkable. Business on the bottom floor, residences above. So you can kind of live in a very local area and not have to drive around as much. So that's just kind of what I wanted to update you on Spain as I was thinking. But what a beautiful town. While we were there, we saw in Barcelona, we saw the Sagrada Familia Cathedral. That thing is incredible. It's been being built for 150 years so far, and it's still not done. I was blown away. So our hotel was actually in the Gothic Quarter, which was close to this other basilica. And I said to Anne, I said, what are we going to tour this other one for? This one's pretty amazing. It's beautiful. It's large. It's super old. The Gothic Quarter is like where the old walls were around the city. And then I get to the basilica, or the cathedral, at the Sagrada Familia, and it blew my mind. The detail, like the whole exterior of the building is telling a story. And wow, it was quite the opportunity. We went there. We went to the Parque Güell, which was also a lot of the architecture in Barcelona was done by I'm blanking on his name. An architect there that lived there for 40 years, but. Wow, it was so beautiful. So much opportunity there, so much diversity. It was a lot of fun to see that. Temperatures were really good for us too. But I hope I got to share some of those photos with you online. I'm going to be sharing a ton more. Anne obviously takes a lot more photos than I do. But it was a lot of fun and wanted to update you on that real quick. Next, I want to do a quick market update on the Wasatch Front Market. For January 2020 versus January 2020. January 2021 versus January 2022. Yep, I got them right here. So, total sales were down 7%. And we've been seeing this. I posted something previously about how inventory and listings were super low this January compared to the last 5 Januaries of the last 5 years. but total sales were down 7% from 2,100 last January to just over 2,000 this January. So about 160 homes different, 7%. List price. So list price is where people put their home typically, and then it either gets bid up or it sits on the market depending on if you price it correctly. But our list price year over year for January increased 28%. So, that's amazing. Then we're talking about the Wasatch Front. So Weber County, Davis County, Salt Lake County, and Utah County. That's what these numbers are for. So list price a year ago was $375. This is median list price. Median list price this January was $480,000. So we see that increase. Sold price increased by 30% January over January. So this January, because supply was so constricted, prices got pushed up again because people were competing for homes. So that median sold price last January 2021, was $382,000. Median list price this January, $497,000. That is a huge increase. So, I wouldn't take a month over month and call that, yearly appreciation. I think you need a larger sample size, but just comparing that data point year over year, it's a 30% increase. That's incredible. And partially it's because we still have a constricted supply and demand is still super high. Right now I have two clients moving here from California. So just kind of showing people are still coming here. They came for a ski trip and they've been coming here off and on for a long time, but they want to move here now. So we still have constricted supply and big buyer demand from people moving into the state. Days on market, I always like to track that also. It's about the same. It was 7 last year. This year it's 6. So that kind of gives you an idea of, things are moving super fast. And that's the median also. So just to give you an idea, the market's super hot. We still need listings. We need new inventory. So along those lines, I got an email yesterday from someone I spoke to probably 3 years ago. We sat down to list his house 3 years ago, and he reached out because now kids are moving out, so he's ready to downsize, and he came to me with the exact same concern that every seller has. I need to sell, but how do I know I'm going to get a house before I move? And this is a common theme. So let's just go over this real quick. So when we list your house, we're going to put it on the market, and typically we'll get an offer pretty quickly. Obviously, we'll get them to waive contingencies. And then we're going to ask them also for a flexible lease back. So a lease back can go anywhere from 1 day to 60 days. And so typically that gives you 30 days of escrow period plus up to 60 days of a free lease back living in your home while you find your new house. So you get 90 days total to find a new house and close on it. And typically closings take 30 days. It can go a little faster depending. It can definitely go faster. But that's the process. If you're afraid of moving right now, of listing your home and not finding what you want, you have 3 months to figure it out without having to move into a hotel or an Airbnb or in with family. So breathe easy. We can get this. I'm going to help this guy who just reached out accomplish exactly this. I did this in December, doing it right now. This is very common. But I understand it's a huge concern. So that's why I just wanted to explain it. If you have questions, put them in the comments below, reach out. But don't worry about finding a new house because you will, and I can help you. And with the market where it's at, people give flexible lease backs. First-time home buyers, any home buyer will give a flexible lease back to get you in the home, to get your home from you. And I've been doing it for a couple years now since this market really tightened up, and it works every time. So have confidence. Have confidence. Next thing, wanted to do a quick open door update. So I talked about this in a previous podcast. So we ended up listing the house. We got so many people through that open house. While I was there doing the open house for 2 hours, there was 25 groups through. Then afterwards, there was a ton of showings the rest of that Saturday, and there's a bunch that Sunday. We got a couple offers, and we ended up getting it under contract for $30,000 over ask, which was just a touch more than what that open door offer was or is. And then they actually did hard earnest money, which is great for my sellers because then it puts their skin in the game. But in the end, the offer ended up being the same as open door, and it had waived some money, did things like that. Unfortunately, the deal fell apart about a week and a half later. For some reasons, the clients, the buyers, they just got too excited, I guess, excited about buying the home. They wrote that great offer, but it ended up, they canceled, just because they didn't think the home was going to be right for them. So, like I said, buying a home is an emotional experience, just like a car is an emotional experience. So, when you're buying a home, you gotta feel the emotion, but you gotta be careful not to act on it. And I say this a lot because, like this couple did, they put $2,000 in non-refundable earnest money down at acceptance, and then because after reflecting on it, they decided it wasn't the home for them. They had an emotional reaction when they went through the open house, and they made that decision, but in the end it wasn't the right home for them, so they canceled and they lost $2,000. So just as advice to everyone, sometimes it's good to have emotion, good to react on it, be excited about it, but be careful when you're writing offers about what to do as you move forward, because it costs them some money, and now they don't have a home, but they were overrun by emotion, I guess, when they wrote the offer. So, but back to the open door side of things. So with that, my sellers, we were already under contract on a purchase for them, and it had a very strict closing deadline. That the one they're buying has some weird tax problem that it has to close by a certain date, so the sellers don't pay capital gains tax. So we have a fixed date of when they have to close on their purchase. So with that, we only have 2 weeks. We only had 2 weeks to get their house sold. And after talking with my client and seeing where the market's at and what people were willing to pay, my clients, and with my advice, I said, hey, your goal is to get into your new house. So get into your new house. The most secure way to do that is to take the open door offer now. And obviously that's not good for me because I didn't get to sell their house. But in the end, whether I help you buy or sell a house, my goal is to help you accomplish your goals, and their goal is to get into that new house. So with the first contract falling apart, which they received $2,000 of earnest money from, and with us having a short deadline where we couldn't move the other sale, on my recommendation, we moved forward with the open door offer, and they are closing on that tomorrow. It'll already be done by the time you see this. And then the next day we're closing on their purchase, and they're going to be in a home of their dreams. It makes a lot of sense for them over the long term. So, thing to remember, in the end, my job is to help you accomplish your goals. And in this situation, that's what we're doing, and I'm super excited about it. I'm glad it's all working out now. I'm super sad for that couple that lost $2,000 and aren't getting a home now, but either way, it's moving forward, and it's going to be great for my clients. The new home they're getting is awesome, and it's a perfect fit for them. But that's all I got for today. Just about the Spain stuff. Everything's going great. I got some good guests lined up. I'm still working on getting that all scheduled. But thanks for joining me. And if you have any questions about the market, put them in the comments below. And thanks.